welcome to the final plenary. This is an opportunity for us just to really talk together and find out from each other what we've learnt and to talk about the things that we need to be doing next and to taking some next actions. So I just want to introduce some people that you will have met already and some people you might have seen in other sessions and people you might know in other lives. But it's kind of just a little cross-section of people who've been involved in different sessions that we've had. So I might just ask you to introduce yourselves if that's okay, but I need a microphone. You have it, there you go. Shall we do that? Thank you.
I'm going to confuse everyone and say I'm Ruth Allen.
This is the other Ruth Allen. Do you remember? She's back, we're back, and we're in the same room at the same time. So, hi Ruth, thank you.
So I'm Harry Sewell. I'm a co-operative member of the council at BASW.
I'm Anya Morrison. I'm the Chief Social Worker in Northern Ireland.
Lynn Romero, former Chief Social Worker in England.
Russell Hogarth, friend of Lynn's. I've been advising BASW now for too many years probably, and I'm now a member of the BASW Charitable Foundation Trust and the Experts by Experience group. Sorry,
I've missed out Josine. Sorry, this has been a little of a hurried few minutes. Sorry, Josine.
Good afternoon. I'm Josine Hof from BASW and from the Netherlands.
I'm Jerry Nosowska. I'm an independent social worker. I was past chair of BASW, and I am involved in the special interest group for ageing.
And I'm Reshma Patel. I'm the Expert by Experience co-chair of the EBE Forum and sit on the BASW Council as a representative for Experts by Experience.
Brilliant, thank you. So I've just invited this wonderfully, not exactly random cross-section of contributors and participants to give a few reflections about some things that you've learnt, some things that have really struck you, and some things that or some things that you think are priorities. And then I'm going to ask you all to do the same thing. So thank you very much for staying for this end plenary. And I'm going to ask you to also then decide what's been most important to you, if you like, over the last couple of days. And also online, I never quite know where to look when it's online. There, oh there, I don't even know what I'm looking at. Hello, everybody online again, please also share your views online, and we would like to capture those and what you've found interesting, important, what you've learnt, and then what you'd like to see us all doing next. So we'll do that, and then I'm going to just wrap up with some thoughts about what we're going to do next in BASW to finish the day. So thank you. So, who would like to commence? Yes, Russ, you've got the microphone, and you look like a man with... You've got something to say.
When you get the dreaded email from Ruth on the train coming up or the night before saying, can you do a few words at the end? I'm always delighted to.
That's why you get it. That's why you get it late.
I purposely made a few notes on the way over the past couple of days. And I think, well, first of all, congratulations to BASW for pulling off another amazing conference. I mean, a massive round of applause. That's brilliant. Thank you very much. I did say to colleagues, I think this should be a 3-day conference, and day 3 should just be for networking, because the amount of conversations taking place between workshops are amazing. But some of the points that I've noticed, and it's brought it home to me, this conference again, how we need to listen to the stories of everybody and to act upon them and support them. And we need people I put this down, we need people as modern as tomorrow, but aware of yesterday, working together. And building networks and how you can't go it alone. And we need to obviously work with our networks and build relationships. But I could go on, and I might do later on, but I will certainly open with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Russ.
Must be okay. Oh, right. I think the main thing for me was that going to some of the workshops and listening to what people said is how much amazing work is going on. So really effective, fantastically focused on people and the outcomes that matter to them. And I'm talking about the session I went to on family group conferencing in a secondary mental health service and the difference that is making, some work around taking a solution-focused brief therapy approach in Essex Children's Social Work, and the amazing work on transitional safety. There's lots of fantastic practice, and it's how we get the research and evidence base to capitalise and build on it so that we can scale it and get these good ways of working and impacts around the whole of the kingdom, actually. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I appear to be next in line, so again, just like to echo the thanks to BASW for organising a really good conference. I suppose my reflections are a little like other people have said, just the pleasure of kind of listening to people and hearing people's stories and thinking about things, and it's nice, that sense of sort of commonality and shared purpose and shared values, but how that expresses itself in different ways. I'm off to think about green issues in social work, and carry that one through a little bit in my own thinking, and I'm also, I suppose, keen to, from my particular point of view, my particular role, I suppose keen to foster sort of communication and collaborative working with other nations within the UK. So it's sort of spurred me on to do a little bit more of that as well.
Could I just ask perhaps you, Harry, and perhaps Ruth too, also a bit around the sustainable bit of this? Just
That
on,
was gonna
yeah. No, thank you, thank you, Harry.
So what I was going to say is I kind of thought the theme around sustainability was fantastic in kind of thinking about sustainability of individual practitioners and networks and so forth. But I also thought that the concept or the kind of work around sustainability is a place for coalition building, insofar as if we think intersectionally, then the impact of the kind of issues around the climate and our ecology collapsing has an adverse impact on many of the groups with whom we work if we take a social justice lens. And one of the ways in which we can kind of do more coalition, so I'm basically kind of thinking, if you're thinking around patriarchy or decolonization or anti-racist practice or disableism or kind of anything like that, it comes back to the same place around sustainability. That's what I mean when I talk about coalition building. And I think one of the things that we could probably do more of is to have spaces where we really start to make those connections. So in the plenary, to have more floor discussions where we begin to start to do some of that. And I kind of think for me, the next stage of sustainability is to build that web, because that's where our power really comes from when we do coalition building.
Thank you.
I think it was really good to bring sustainability in terms of climate together with sustainability in terms of social work practice, because that really points to, they're both part of the same systemic crisis. We are in a lot of crises at the moment, and I think it's reflected here in terms of how we engage with those things. It's a moment of change for everything, and I did see in some of the workshops that sense of trying to sort of come back to, in that process of moving forward, we're coming back to looking at the core values of what social work is and who we are and what we're bringing, and some of those practices like community work and coming back to, so it comes back to that sort of, working together and coming back into collaboration, because that's where we need to start making the change, and social workers have got all those tools and all those skills.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you so much, thank you.
Okay, so over the 2 days it's been absolutely brilliant, starting with Monday night where we looked at reflection, reflective practice and supervision for social workers, and I think that is really, really important. Having social workers myself in my life and knowing what they're going through in trying to fight my complex case against the NHS, I know social workers need that supervision. For me, the biggest thing that stood out for me about the conference was that there were so many inspirational speakers, and also when we looked at strengths-based practice, the workshop that I went to this afternoon, which was delivered by young people, I think the youngest was an 11-year-old, and it was around BMX and bicycle and using the outside green space. And I was thinking, actually, that goes in with what Lynn was talking about this morning around, changing. And they are the change makers of tomorrow. And we need to be working with our young people a lot more in different creative ways in order to have success for the future.
Thank you.
So it's been an opportunity to talk to people I don't normally get to talk to and think about things I don't normally get to think about, like gardens and journalism and intergenerational support, palliative care, all these things that day to day, when you're really busy, you don't lift your head up to think about. And I suppose the big thing for me is we've created this amazing space for a couple of days in this wonderful environment for reflection. And in practice, people don't have those kind of environments. In day-to-day life, people don't have those kind of environments. So I suppose the big question for me is how do I take that environment out with me when I'm doing my social work and when I'm working with people, when I'm working with social workers and into my community and to my family and to people that I have conversations with to create that space. And the big message for me to take away is that social work is eco-social work and that human rights are eco-human rights.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, it has been a few wonderful days being amidst so many devoted social workers and social work teachers as well. Just a small reflection. I noticed I made some notes. I've been to all kinds of workshops and presentations. I just name a few. The others were excellent as well. What Trish McCulloch and her colleague told us this morning about strength and struggle, it's so recognizable in the Netherlands as well, and I think in lots of other European countries. So it's really felt like it was for us as well, not being British. One workshop springs to mind is Colin and Jane about the community work they do in Scotland during COVID and in times of climate change and all the problems that comes with that. Beautiful examples of how communities work and support each other. Then the team of Caroline and Ruth and the other, Deborah and Kitty and etc. Wonderful, very instructive meeting yesterday with Caroline, and I visited the workshop, and well, this is one of the top things we have to think about for the future. So thank you very, very, very much. The last workshop I went to was from Anya and Katrina about disaster, and well, it opens your eyes for lots of other things we need to know. So it was so full and rich, but the main word that springs to mind is the word solidarity. Solidarity with our service users, solidarity with our communities, solidarity with the people who knock on the doors of Europe and Britain, and last but not least, solidarity with each other. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I would like we don't have very long, but I think we have long enough to have a bit of a conversation in the room, because I think that's really important. And we're going to finish this session by 4:40 at the latest. What I'm going to invite you to do is to talk to one another for a few minutes and maybe ask the same kind of question. Ask a question about what have you heard about creating a sustainable future? What have you learnt, and what might we do next? And just in pairs or threes, talk to the people around you, maybe try and talk to somebody you don't know, and just for 3 or 4 minutes, just to pull out some highlights, and then we can share some of those. I'm not going to try and sum up what has happened over the last 2 days. We're going to reflect on everything we've heard long and hard, but I think we can hear the diversity of experiences, and we can start to feel and hear some of those similarities and those themes that are emerging, and the intersectional issues that are emerging. So can I invite you for 3 or 4 minutes to have that conversation with somebody next to you, explore, celebrate, criticise, whatever it is you need to say about the last couple of days. If you could just start to close your conversations now, we'll come back together and just hear a few of your thoughts. Okay? Okay. Thank you. That's much better. Thank you. I need a voice like that. There we go. I don't have one. Thank you very much. So, should we just some key ideas that have emerged? VJ. Oh yes, microphone. That's why I've got it in my hand. This one.
It's to pick up on Harry's point about building connection and communities. For those who agree, can we share our emails? You know, put a paper up and say, for those who are happy, put your emails up and we can connect up that way. Because we've had all great conversations and it will be just to maintain them.
So we'll work out a way to share contact details if people are happy, and we can do that through the proper way. It's a great idea, simple and great idea. Anybody else like to share some thoughts? John. Excuse me. Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we've had a great couple of days, but I think there's a challenge to us also, particularly when we're talking about the future of social work. It's something we've been discussing just here, that we need to be able to find a way of engaging people who have got a stake in that future, social workers who've got a stake in that future. Many of us won't be around in 20 years' time at these sort of events, but we need to find a way of doing that. I think we've done it possibly better even with some of the international conferences, and I think we need to find a way of enabling, as John McGann was touching on earlier, of people in practice to get involved in these discussions and to really work together to look at that sustainable future.
Thanks, Sean. We had some conversations over lunch, I think it was, about what practitioners are able to come to something like this. And I know many of you are, but it's difficult for people. So thank you.
Just on the back of John's point, I think there's another challenge to all 4 nations about how we engage students from first year, not third or fourth year when they're in placements and they're stressed. I think there's an element of a postcode lottery for students in placement, and some may have an incredible supervisor and feel a passion that will never die, and some will get a really rough supervisor and it will make them burn out before they're even in the practice. So I think there's something, I don't have an answer.
Yeah, it's a popular point.
Yeah, I don't have a clear answer, but I think it's something BASW, SASW, BASW and I and Kimru need to have a look at, is how we promote the good messages, the people that are still in practice, who are persisting through burnout, and actually encourage students to hear the good stories rather than from first year hearing about the burnout levels. It's important to talk about burnout, but I think we need to showcase what's good about our profession so that we encourage students to stay.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Just to say, echo that, I think they ought to be here.
Yes.
The students and the
They are
young
here. Some of them are here.
practitioners. I mean, there are a lot.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who couldn't come and can't come because they're too busy and what have you, and under pressure. But if they came to the conference, they would hear the positive. They would take part in the positive, wouldn't they? And that would be
good for them. Great. Thank you. Here? Yes. Hi.
Hi there. Anyone who came to our workshop this afternoon, we met some great people, and afterwards we kind of came up with the idea where we'd actually thought about it beforehand, but one of the things that we thought would be useful for social workers particularly is to have a social worker, an advocate, somebody that was like a champion of climate change within each social care network. And I'm just wondering if that would be something that BASW could perhaps take forward and that we could help with CPAST.
Right, brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's great. There was, sorry, just here, and then I'm going to come to the back.
Yeah, no, thank you. And one of the things that sprung to mind, obviously being Scottish, was the fact that the conversation was the richer for being in Scotland, I have to say, and being at Dynamic Earth and being within Edinburgh and thinking about social work in all its forms, in all its spaces, and that solidarity that I've certainly experienced across the space, meeting people that I've known for a number of years but actually not actually met in person. So, I mean, whether it sounds twee, but I'd like to thank Scotland, to be honest, for actually making making everybody feel welcome and hopefully really added that depth of voice.
Thank you. It's been great. It's been great to it's been great to be here. Yeah, thanks very much. Somebody had their hand up. Paddy. Hi.
Hi there. It's Paddy McIntyre from the A&R team at BASW and a social worker practicing as an AMP. But it's been really interesting the last few days. I had a lot of really interesting arguments. But the facts of the matters are that social workers are leaving the profession in droves. I see that a lot of the issues is health and safety in the workplace. I think employers need to take more responsibility for that. I think unions and associations need to lobby employers to hold them to account in terms of health and safety. And I think in terms of what John McGowan was saying earlier, I think there's a need for some sort of campaigning and recognition that this is a real problem. I think this links into supervision, it links into sustainability and strength and health for the profession, not just for social workers, but for the people we work with as well, service users. That's it, thanks.
Thank you very much. Go ahead. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. There's really good focus on a number of issues, but on that point which has just been mentioned, I was at the Commonwealth Health Ministers meeting in Geneva, and there the big issue of discussion was workforce crisis across the world in health and social care. It is not just our country, it is a global issue. And we were there, part of the conversation, talking about it and how we can address it, because it's not only the UK. But if I could say the research point that struck me most was how important community is for social workers. Yeah. And I remember when I started out as a social worker, now 50 years ago, that community through the professional association was really important. And if I could say so to those who are in leadership positions now across the countries, saying constantly that community is important and coming to events like this make a difference and improve practice. And that needs to be said because so many organisations view it as something extra that can be dispensed with. It isn't. This community is essential, and it's only when we have a strong social work community will people stay. And I think that needs to be said from the top and from the leadership, and if I could say so, from chief social workers.
Thank you. I think we do. Yeah, thank you, David. Very well said. And that point about community has come across very strongly to me as well. I think chief social workers are being really supportive, and we'll keep on being really supportive. We'll take one more, Sarah. Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm sorry to rush, but I know people have to go. They have to catch trains. And Sarah.
No, just very quickly, as somebody who is part of the Experts by Experience, it's also been really lovely actually to get a lot of lived experience from different people. So not just like disabled people, neurodiverse, but the actual range, because we can't forget at the end of the day, we're here for other people. So it's just genuinely actually been lovely to connect with such a broad range of different people. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. I think I'm going to now move to close. So I want to thank everybody very, very much for those comments. And they're just the beginning of conversations. I'd like to thank you all on the panel, our little panel here, for sharing your thoughts and starting off that discussion. I really do hope that everybody has gained something valuable from the last 2 days. I know I have. As I said, I'm not going to try and make any summing up of themes. We did start thinking very starkly about the impact on young people of the climate crisis and the environmental crisis, and it was very much for me the right place to start. And that's central to social work, that we're caring for the next generation and we're enabling and empowering the next generation, and that has been a theme throughout, and empowering the next generation of social workers and preserving social work and the experience and wisdom in social work to support the next generation of social workers is all very connected. That's just one set of connections. There are many others. In a moment, I'm going to ask Julia Ross to kind of formally close our conference. I've just got a little note on some formal thanks to give before we do that. Because so many people have made this conference happen. I've had a fantastic team around me in BASW. From our staff, and I want to thank all of them. I'm not going to go through the list because there's a very long list. I do just want to mention Amanda Beattie, who is an incredible project manager. and Lisa Urquhart, who's worked very hard on the technology, and done all the liaison, and Sarah Jackson from the Scottish team, who's led on the liaison with the venue. But all of our staff have been very, very involved, and I thank you all very, very much indeed. I just also want to support the tech support from Glow, who've been outstanding, actually, so thank you so much. And Dynamic Earth, the venue here, because they've been more than a venue, they've been really supportive and lovely. All the staff here, I hope you've experienced that as well. I certainly have. It's been super, because you don't always get that in venues. You know, you sometimes get sharp elbows. They've been really lovely, so thank you. And thank you, Scotland, for giving us Dynamic Earth. And thank you to the SASWA team, who, of course, have been doing all sorts of things up here to help us support that. So on that, I would just like to hand over to Julia. Perhaps you can stand here, Julia. And who's going to give a final.
Who else is there to thank? I mean, I think we've thanked everyone. But no, there's Ruth. We have to thank Ruth. I want to go back, before I do that, to sustainability. And I want to say that for me, I've been on a journey, and this journey has been transformational. I've learnt a lot. I've learnt a lot about social work, but I do that every time, and I expect to, because I get taken back to the basics. But I've also learnt about social work skills, and I've learnt that we're part of an ecosystem. And I hadn't thought of us, social work, as being part of an ecosystem before, but I do now. I also wanted to refer to the very early, a very stunning, I think, platform plenary where we all came in. It was absolutely amazing. I wanted to stand up and clap them there and then, because it was so amazing. So moving us on, we will be sustained, we will sustain ourselves, and we will grow to a sustainable future. Of that, I'm absolutely certain. I look forward, Ruth, to hearing what comes out of this conference. I am also wanting to thank you enormously. It's not just your team, it is you and all your team, because there's no other conference that I know that is run by a staff team. I mean, that's why it feels so, that's the feel-good factor, and that's what makes the difference. So thank you enormously for that. I'm going to say one more thing. The one thing I haven't learnt about, and the one thing I don't know, is what is a chronosphere? Somebody mentioned it, and oh, right, okay. Well, anyway, thank you, everyone. Thank you, members. We continue to learn. We continue to learn. Thank you, and goodbye.